Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton, and on this episode, we've got a treat. We're going to talk about the 49ers and the Jaguars, which is, to me, probably one of the games of the week this week in NFL football. And I have someone coming on the show today that actually is out on the West Coast, definitely knows a little bit about this particular team, the 49ers. That would be Yahoo Sports, Callie Lawson-Freeman. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be talking to you today. This is going to be fun. The San Francisco 49ers are like an hour from me. I went to San Francisco State for grad school, so I was right there. I think this is going to be fun.
Awesome. We're going to get into knowing you as well. But before we get into all of that, I open my show, of course, with the Get Off Your Chest segment. Of course, we'll get to that too. But, of course, I have to tell everyone that our show is sponsored by Manscaped.com. Yes, Manscaped.com is a sponsor of our show. You can get 20% off Manscaped.com products and free shipping with the promo code AFC South. Again, 20% off Manscaped.com plus free shipping with the promo code AFC South. Manscaped.com. Go ahead and check it out. Plenty of things, like if you want to shop for something for yourself for Christmas, Black Friday's coming up, or you got somebody that you feel like they need some of these products, then go ahead, manscaped.com, 20% off. It's on me. Thank you. Now, let's get to the Get Off Your Chest segment. Now, I've been hanging on to this one for just a little bit, but I got to talk about a particular gentleman that got a coaching job with the Las Vegas Raiders. His name, he did have a coaching job. He doesn't have it anymore, but that would be Josh McDaniels. Now, Josh McDaniels, for those that don't know, he was the offensive coordinator, for the New England Patriots. Then he went to the Denver Broncos. Then you know how he tried to make Tim Tebow into a pro quarterback when he wasn't. That guy. That's him. Then the guy that traded Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall and tried to make you think that he was building a team by trading away its best players. Yeah, that guy. He was a coach, again, in New England as offensive coordinator. Faked like he was going to Indianapolis Colts, went back to the New England Patriots. Then he decided he wanted to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. But what he tried to do was make it New England West. He brought the offensive coordinator. He brought the general manager. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to make this New England West out here. I got Devontae Adams. I can bring him in via trade. I got Derek Carr. But I don't need Derek Carr. I'm going to go get Jimmy G. Jimmy G might be better. No, he really wasn't. But, Devontae Adams really wasn't happy, throwing his helmet, saying he had nothing else to really say. Then he got the greatest birthday present ever. Now, it wasn't his birthday. I'm just saying it was a birthday present. But anyway, he got the greatest present ever. Josh McDaniels got fired. Yes, he did. He got fired. And, of course, leading into that, everyone's talking about the team meeting and all those different things where they were kind of ragging on him, I guess, and kind of flipped on him. And of course he talked about how the word out there is that he talked about how don't talk about the Patriots again. He said that to like Antonio Pierce, who is now the head coach. So Josh McDaniel, bye. Please don't. No, there are certain guys that are supposed to be head coaches, and there's certain guys that are just offensive coordinators. You, my guy, are an offensive coordinator. Stick in that lane, stay in that lane, be one with an offensive coordinator, because you and being a head coach, that just ain't it. You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that meeting, and one thing that I think is important to add is that kind of like culture talk aspect. Antonio Pierce, he was part of the Giants that beat the Patriots, and he said the reason why they were able to do that was because they believed there was no one that could beat them, and that the current Raiders under McDaniels didn't have that mentality. And that was something that really offended McDaniels, reportedly, according to what we all read. So to me, that's the most important part, because now you look at this team under Antonio Pierce, who just seems to be bringing a brand new energy. The vibes seem high, like almost too high, but like I'm going to let them have it. They want to smoke their cigars after wins. They want to, take videos in the locker room and all that stuff. You got Devontae Adams. I don't know if you saw that video, but he was at a college hoops game, And he was talking to a ref, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's going to be better now." And it's like, okay, well, we know why you think that, because you're really happy with McDaniel. So to me, that culture part is the biggest aspect. Obviously, you're right. McDaniel's tried to do a whole bunch of ill-fated, a whole thing that didn't work. Like a whole bunch of stuff that didn't work. But I think maybe the culture part is the part that he kind of blinked on the most. If you've been an athlete at all, you know that that's like make or break. So we'll see what they do now with him gone.
Right, right. It's almost like the Wizard of Oz. Ding dong, the witch is dead. The witch is. It's almost kind of like that. In terms of the Raiders. And the funny thing is, they were smoking cigars. When I was in college, I played college football. So our coach said after every win, he was going to give us cigars. So literally, our last game of the season, we win the game. He gives us all cigars. There's a cannon that fired when we scored touchdowns or whatever. We're out there on the field smoking cigars, firing the cannon, and all kind of different just debauchery for that after that game.
Yeah, see, I can't relate to that. I ran track. If we smoked cigars after wins, we wouldn't do well the next meet, I'm sure. So I don't think that was for my sport, but it looks cool. It always looks cool to see.
Yeah, it definitely looked like fun. I was like, man, I was having a flashback to those days, but I'm not going to talk too much about those because I'm probably going to say some stuff that some people don't want people to know. So, I'm going to kind of exit on over that. We're going to kind of dive into the show because people are just now seeing you on my show. This is the first time you've come on. So I want to help people get to know you. So where did you grow up?
I grew up right here in Sacramento, California. I was actually born in New York. That's where my dad's from, but we moved here when I was like 3. And I went to school in California. So I went to undergrad at UC Riverside. I ran track there. Then I went to grad school at San Francisco State, ran track there too. So I've been a California girl, which is so funny because my name is Callie. And my parents didn't know that this is where they would end up. So it worked out.
Yeah, definitely. So, you mentioned you grew up out in California. You went to school a couple of different spots in California as well. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of tell everyone your athletic exploits as well?
Yeah, so I ran track at Riverside, which is like a mid-major D1. I did the hurdles there. I'm very proud to say that I'm on the top 10 all-time list in the 60-meter hurdles indoor for now. I'm sure I'll be knocked off soon, so I'm like number 9 on there. But I started running hurdles in college. I didn't start running track until my junior year of high school, so it was all just like brand new to me. And I walked on to Riverside. Like I went to junior college first, so I just had like a crazy journey, and then I was offered like a scholarship to get my master's for free if I kept running track. So I just kind of rode that train. Like I didn't think that sports would be as big a part of my life as they were. Like I was a big basketball fan. I played basketball in high school, but I wasn't very good. Like that was my family's sport. And so I'm really grateful for all the doors that track opened for me. I got to travel like all over the country. Like that's what you do when you're an athlete. You do have meets in all different types of states and stuff. So it was a great experience. And I'm really grateful that I had that.
Yeah, the one time I ever went to the West Coast to play any type of sport, I don't think you can consider it the West Coast. It was Alaska. I went to Alaska my junior year of high school. We played against the state champion there. We beat them 40-0.
Wow! Oh my goodness!
And I scored the only touchdown of my high school career. I picked off a pass and ran back 50 yards. So,
see that's another thing. I'm like so envious of people who can say they played football in high school. I played powder puff, which is all you get as a girl. There's no debate. Like I can't imagine playing football in high school. It just seems like it'd be so fun. But
yeah, I wore number 21. I had high socks. I had I thought I was Dion for a minute there, but I was like, I quickly realized I am not that fast. I was just going to play my position and do what I can do.
Yeah, no, hey, that's like all you can do in any sport. I feel like that's why I was like, let me just play my position. Like I made myself available for the 4x4 when they needed me. Whatever they asked me to do, I was like, let me just play my position. That's what I'm going to do.
There we go. It's all we can do, right?
Exactly.
Now, speaking of all we can do, I mean, the 49ers kind of transitioning there. The
Mm-hmm.
49ers did all they could do when they started the season 5-0, and they struck a lot of fear in a lot of teams.
Yeah.
However, they are now on a 3-game losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
And one name that keeps getting mentioned over and over and over again in that 3-game losing streak is Brock Purdy, the quarterback of the 49ers. Started the season 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. Of course, last 3 games, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Not necessarily instilling a lot of confidence in some that have the 49ers winning the Super Bowl. However, it is a long season and things happen. Of course, adjustments happen too. But is there anything, you just want to ask, is there anything you've kind of noticed about him that's kind of thrown his playoff recently that you may have seen out there?
I mean, that's a great question. You could say that the absence of Debo could maybe make a difference. He's been out for 2 games. He's supposed to be coming back for this one, which is good. But I think, to me, whenever I've been watching the 49ers, it's like I'm always looking at everything surrounding Brock Purdy instead of like him specifically. And I think at the beginning of this season, he was acutely aware of that. Like he knew the chatter, which is that maybe the 49ers were good, like in spite of him. And so then, like in that Steelers win, I can't remember who made the dig, but somebody was like, oh, I'm going to get an interception because, Brock Purdy is not that good. If they have
It's
a
Patrick
QB,
Peterson.
yeah, they
Patrick
have
Peterson.
quarterback friendly offense, and their offense has tells and that type of thing. And so that game, you really saw Brock Purdy like rise to the occasion, and he was able to like throw it in his face. And so I think that kind of did instill confidence for a moment, but like pretty quickly there, the questions started swirling again. And then by week 5, it was just like, okay, it doesn't matter if he's good or not. Like that was really my takeaway because everything was going so well. And that week 5 win over the Cowboys, like you had everyone playing well. And so to me, it's like now you can't say that. Like the defense is struggling. You're missing players on offense. And also Brock Purdy's not playing well. And so I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, it was always interesting. I was watching the last game against the Bengals, and I don't know what he was doing outside of the pocket. I looked up and the Bengals had the ball. I was like, okay, what happened? I had to watch the replay. I was like, okay, why was he trying that? I mean,
Yeah.
I know he thinks he's a very, very talented quarterback, and I'm not saying he isn't a talented quarterback, but there's just certain things that Brock Purdy doesn't do to be that quarterback of the 49ers, and he was doing some of those things. I was like, okay, um, who replaced him with the Sam Darnold that was playing for the Carolina Panthers? Who did that? So, that's where my mind was kind of going a little bit watching that. But of course, like you mentioned, Brock Purdy isn't the only reason this team has lost 3 straight, and that is the defense. The defense, I mean, they were getting to the the pass rush was getting to the quarterback. I kind of got the cart ahead of the horse there for a minute, but the pass rush was getting to the quarterback. But unfortunately, last 3 games have not been quite getting there. Now, that has kind of exposed their secondary a little bit. I mean, you had Tre'Davious Ward there. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. My apologies. But anyway, um, he just, it just seems like the pass rush is kind of, slipped a little bit. And you just don't see the guys getting there. Now, is this a product of teams getting the ball out quicker? Because it seems like they're getting the ball out a lot quicker. Or is it just the pass rush is just not as ferocious and doesn't have as much bite to it as it usually has for the 49ers the last 3 weeks?
Gosh, I don't know. That's a good question. Have you like really looked at tape to try? I have no idea. I
Oh,
think
I
that.
have.
So what's your inclination? I'm curious now that you posed that question.
My inclination is they're getting the ball out quicker, which a lot of teams are, but they're putting a lot of attention towards Nick Bosa, which I can totally understand that one. And then also what they're doing is the big guys up front, like Hargrave. I think Hargrave is not having quite the impact the last few weeks that he was having a little bit earlier, and that's the big key. Him and Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead is a guy that, I'll be honest. I wanted, God, I can't remember his name. Plays for the Colts now. Because him and Armstead and the guy for the Colts, I can't remember his defensive tackle. God, I forgot his name. But anyway, they traded him on draft day and drafted Javon Kinlaw to be his replacement. And Eric Armstead got paid. Well, I thought it should have been the reverse way. Eric Armstead gone and the guy that went to the Colts still be there. But it didn't happen. And now, to me, I can't remember really any impact Eric Armstead has had on the team this year. I can't remember him making a sack. I can't remember him making a play. I just can't remember it. That's not to try to down him. I'm just saying I really can't remember him making a play this year. So that's two guys right there I think are missing in action that they need to kind of step up their game. And I think once one of those guys at least are able to do so, I think that defense kind of gets its rhythm back a little bit more, because that secondary is, to me, getting exposed. Not saying that necessarily they're horrible. No, they're not. But they're they're not gonna be playing man-to-man all the time. And when they are playing man-to-man, it's not necessarily a good sign that they're playing if they're playing it, more than what they're used to playing, especially with no pass rush getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think this will be an interesting week for Steve Wilks, because there's been so much pressure on him and so much talk about him. And that Vikings loss, that all-out blitz that he called was like super ill-fated. That ended up being like a long touchdown to Jordan Addison. I think things like that are what fans are going to be focused on this week. Like, what is Steve Wilks going to be doing differently? Like, I'm not like that type of football expert where I can say and like predict, but like that's really, I know that's going to be one of the main storylines like going into this game. Like, what is Steve Wilks going to do? Because if not, like, I don't know, Kyle Shanahan's he's not scared to like call people out. Like, he wasn't scared to call Steve Wilks out after like not the Vikings game. There was one other game he made not the best call, and so we'll see what happens. But I think that's going to be like a big focus for sure.
Now, I will say this. I'm not necessarily mad at Steve Wilks for the Vikings call, because if Ward catches the football instead of trying to catch the ball against his pads, that's an interception. But, that's where I'm a little tougher on defensive backs, I will say, because Ward was right there in position. But instead of him going to go catch the ball, he let the ball catch him and let it go into his pads. And when that happened, it allowed it to kind of move around, and then Addison to catch it off a little deflection. So that's where, at that point, it wasn't a great call. I agree.
Yeah.
But Ward could have made it a great call if he would have just picked the pass. It was literally right into his hands, and it went right through his hands. And I'm like, okay, I know they make the jokes. Defensive backs, just wide receivers can't catch. I know they make those jokes, but that one was right there for him, and he just completely missed it. And I was that's why I think I was most mad. I wasn't most mad at the call. I was mad that Ward missed the football, probably more than anything.
That's a fresh perspective. I think you're the first person who's put the onus on one of the players. So a lot of people would argue that you make a play like that, 7-man blitz, you're sending everybody, like that's not the call is not really putting your players in position to make a play on an interception. And so that was really like, I have not heard anybody make the case that you're making, but I think that's refreshing. Like I think Steve Wilks as a black man in NFL leadership, he gets like really, really hard criticism that we might not see for everyone who looks like him in the same position. So shout out to you for making that point. It's a good point.
Yeah, I can't believe no one talked about that. It just kind of it boggled my mind that no one said anything like that. But before we get into Jacksonville, we're going to get into Jacksonville versus San Francisco. But we do have to have commercial break and talk about the sponsors and things like that. So we'll be right back on Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton.
A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, Why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we are back on Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. Of course, the big game this week, San Francisco 49ers versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, for those that aren't aware, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on quite a bit of a roll right now. They are 6-2, with them winning 5 straight games. Now, of course, plenty of people downplay it, obviously, because it's the AFC South. And people are like, oh, what's the AFC South? They're supposed to do this, or things like that. But 5 wins in a row is 5 wins in a row. And they have been doing it in different ways. So I've got to give them respect, and people I think you ought to as well. They are a good team. But, of course, going into this game, I'm pretty sure there are some feelings about the 49ers in terms of their fans as well as the team itself going into this game. Do you I know you're closer to it out there. Do you get any sense of they're okay, or do you get a sense of kind of worry about them heading into this game?
I'm going to be honest with you. From what I've seen, I think that a lot of 49ers fans think that this is one that they can win. But of course, like, you go on a 3-game losing streak, there's going to be some despair. NFL fans are probably the most dramatic fan base, like, in sports. Like, when things go wrong, you're going to hear about it. And I've definitely seen a lot of negative feedback. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that I saw was about Steve Wilkes, but of course there was a lot about Brock Purdy. But I do think that, yeah, like, it's the NFL. So people are sweating. Like, you need to break this losing streak, especially because each game, so these last 3 games that the 49ers have lost, they put up 17 points in each of those 3 games. But each of their opponent each week has scored more. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, in that first loss, I think it was like 19 points. The second one, it was 22 points. This most recent one was 31 points that the Bengals put up on them. So I think that is like the thing. It can't keep getting worse. Like, that's the overall sense that I'm getting. It's like, it needs to get better in this game. That's the sense.
So basically what you're saying is they're hoping this is the rain and they're hoping the sun is coming soon.
Exactly.
Okay.
In a way, like, it has to be. If you think about it, the Jaguars 5-game winning streak, is that what you said? 5 games. That's really wild. So to me, it's like, they're gonna go for 6. Are they? You don't know.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way. But, I will say that the last time that the 49ers did visit the Jacksonville Jaguars, they did handle business down there in Jacksonville. So
that's true.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens there. But something that kind of interests me about this game is the Jaguars O-line. Now, the Jaguars offensive line has been quite interesting. They did have Walker Little and Anton Harrison starting at tackles to start the year. Of course, that was because one of their starting tackles was out. But of course, he's back now. They moved him down to tackle, of course, and now they've moved Walker Little down to guard. Kind of gives them their strongest 5. Of course, you got Reef that Struck played for the Commanders. He came down, and now he plays guard. And of course, they have a center. I think a young center from Kentucky, I believe. But they're an offensive line. They're okay, but they're going against a defensive line that's rested, that's probably ready to break out. Now, just being that it is a offensive line or a trenches battle, do you think that this could potentially be a game that the 49ers break out, or do you think the Jaguars are going to figure out some magical quote or potion to figure out how to block all these guys, especially with the addition of Chase Young coming over from the Commanders.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned Chase Young because that's where I was going to go. I was like, I think this is going to be the Chase Young game. Obviously, like, for them to get him for a third rounder right before the deadline, that's huge. And I know that them having the bye week to kind of prep him and get him integrated was probably vital. And I know, like, you know, he was teammates with Nick Bosa. Like, this is going to be, I'm so excited about it. But I think like the addition of a defensive end is enough to invigorate a lot of teams. Like I like the Bears a lot. So I watch the Bears every time mostly. And like, I'm super excited to see the addition of Sweat. Like when he plays, like that's huge. And they spent some cash to keep him. Like I think it was like 98 mil for 4 years. Like that's what they're probably looking to do with Chase Young if he delivers. And there's no reason that he shouldn't, because I think he had like, what is it, like 5 sacks already in just 7 games? Because to me, that's game changing. And I think that he's going to be somebody to watch. I don't know what the Jaguars are really going to be able to do with like that type of like powerhouse. I think it's going to be a big deal.
One thing I also want to throw out there too is that everyone forgets now with this trade, they forgot that the 49ers already traded for another defensive end as well, and Randy Gregory from the Denver Broncos. So now they've got him coming off the bench. They got Chase Young right there. They've got just a myriad of pass rushers. So, you know, in my mind, here's what I have in mind. Just want to throw this out there. You know, the New York Giants, they had the NASCAR pass rush from Justin Tuck and Michael Strahan, Osi Umenyiora, all those guys, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking you get the third down. You got Chase Young, Randy Gregory. You've got either Eric Armstead or Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa on the field, and kind of your NASCAR pass rush potentially. So that's where my mind's kind of going in terms of all these pieces you can mix and match and do all those different things with. And I'm just like, wow, it's an embarrassment of riches up front. But let's just say Jacksonville is able to keep them out or at bay for a little bit. That means that the Jacksonville weapons could be on display. That'd be Christian Kirk, that's Calvin Ridley, that's Zay Jones, a.k.a. Bruce Leroy. If you've seen this picture, you know why I call him Bruce Leroy. But, you know, and then you've got Evan Ingram as well. So, you know, you got all those weapons versus a 49ers secondary that has been exposed at times. Now, I know you talked about 31 points being the last time they were out, they gave up 31 points. If they're able to keep this pass rush out, I shudder to think what the Jacksonville Jaguars, receivers and tight ends could do. I think they could put up over 31 points. Am I wrong to think that?
Well, I want to counter. To put up 31 points, you got to complete your passes. You got to not make red zone mistakes. And I think that there's a quarterback in Jacksonville that's been doing some of that stuff. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I've been reading and seeing. So how confident are you in Trevor Lawrence ahead of this game, I guess would be the question. Because to score 31 points, you got to complete your passes and that type of thing.
That's true. And he definitely has made some mistakes when it comes to handling the football. I mean, you know, for example, the first game, he gets the ball stripped from him. And of course, that was like a miracle play. And then, you know, of course, they pick up DeForest Buckner, was the name I was thinking of. He used to be with the 49ers. And then, But anyway, he picked up that pass or that fumble and ran it in. But there's been a good bit of those different things happening when it comes to Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars and turning over the football at times. And that is definitely the great equalizer and could be an equalizer in this game as well. But, you know, kind of switching over to the other side of the ball for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they've got to deal with Christian McCaffrey. Now, Christian McCaffrey can line up in the backfield. He can line up at wide receiver. And then with potentially Debo being back and potentially Trent Williams being back, which is huge, then you've got all those nice bells and whistles and motions and all those different things that Kyle Shanahan likes to do. And that's going to be a lot of stress for linebackers and safeties. More specifically, going to be Olaquan, the linebacker who basically he led the AFC in tackles last year, and then the previous year he led the NFC in tackles with the Falcons. So he's actually a really, really talented guy, can run sideline. Then you have a couple safety, your safety pairing for the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. You got Cisco back there. So he's going to be there going to be a lot of stress situations back there. So, do you think, it's going to be a game that if the Jaguars are to win this, they're going to put some teams on notice about their defense. Would you say that?
No, you're 100% correct. So, like, the 49ers, you said something about riches. Like, that's really what the 49ers offense, both sides of the ball, is ridiculous. Like, they just have so much talent. I think one reason that they're able to keep all of these incredible players is because Brock Purdy is one of the cheapest quarterbacks in the NFL. So that I think probably helps them spread money around and keep talent. But you're right. Like, this is a team of stars, especially on offense, especially with those returning players that you mentioned. So, 100%. If the Jaguars can pull this off, I am easily swayed. Through the first 5 weeks of the NFL, I'm not joking. I was telling people that the 49ers were going to the Super Bowl. And I was like so sure. I was like, it would have to be a miracle from God if this team did not go to the Super Bowl. But it's the same way. Like if the Jaguars were to pull off this win, especially in like decisive fashion, because I do feel like the 49ers have had so many like they're not excuse. I don't want to say excuses. That's like very critical, but like they've had things to kind of pin each loss on. So like, I think there was a missed field goal in like that second loss. There was that, Steve Wilkes call. There was Brock Purdy poor performance. Like there were just things that like each game, there was a clear kind of story and reason that the team and its fans could fall back on for why they didn't win. So I think like if the Jaguars win this game and it's decisive, that would be like, I think that national sports shows would have to lead with that story. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no way that you could ignore that or even really question it at that point.
Yeah, it'd be funny. The leading with the Jacksonville Jaguars, which plenty of people thought at one point in time to be the armpit of the NFL. So, yeah.
But like I said, that's funny. Assuming a lot. That's assuming they win. And that right. in decisive fashion, which I'm not necessarily saying will happen. I'm not a betting person, but if I had to put money on this game, I really do think I'd put my money on the Niners for this one, respectfully.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting. Another safety I want to mention, Rashawn Jenkins. He's actually the unheralded safety for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's a guy that could definitely make some things happen and has been making things happen, but he just doesn't get the pub that Cisco and Olaquan get. And of course, you do have the pass rushers in Josh Allen and of course Trayvon Walker, which I still wonder at times if the Jacksonville Jaguars think they probably could have gotten more out of Aiden Hutchinson than Trayvon Walker, because I actually was on Brother from Another, and I did not believe that they were going to take Trayvon Walker. I said they were going to take Aiden Hutchinson, and then they took Trayvon Walker, and now I'm like, okay, I kind of look good and I kind of look bad at the same time. I'm like, good, because I thought, they should have picked Aiden Hutchinson, and now he's doing well in Detroit. Bad because I said they picked Aiden Hutchinson and they picked Trayvon Walker. So,
but your mind was in the right place. So that's the most important thing.
I got the other one. I got the other one right about CJ Stroud though. So I did get that one right. I did say he was the most talented.
That was like my biggest off-season like draft talking point. I was telling everyone like this pre-draft talk about CJ Stroud is going to be so ill-fated. He is a talent. Like I was so confident in it. And I'm so happy that that's actually happening with all that, cognitive test BS and all that. Like he is like an actual generational talent. I'm not trying to be dramatic. It sounds dramatic when people say that, but it's really fun to watch him play. And he seems like such a leader, even off the field. I know I'm getting off topic, but I'm like, that was my off-season take that I was like, okay, I got this one. Check.
Yeah, I actually went and looked at it again. I was like, man, I actually really did say that he was the most talented quarterback in the draft and that they couldn't trot Davis Mills back out there. And I actually was right. Okay, there we go. I got one I can hang my hat on. But
real ones knew. We knew.
Well, we have reached the end of the show. It's definitely going to be an entertaining game between the 49ers and the Jacksonville Jaguars, but there is a game at the end of the show. It's 5 questions, 2 answers, and 1 choice. Are you ready?
We'll see.
All right. Okay, let's see. I looked around and I saw where you did a little 4x4 and you did the 100-meter hurdles. So which event do you like least of those two?
Definitely did you say 400-meter hurdles or 100-meter hurdles?
100 meters.
Oh, I definitely like the 4x4 the least. It's like the best to watch. The 4x4 is the best event to watch. I really encourage, if you like football, you should watch track, because a lot of these players that you're watching on the field, they ran track. That's where they got their speed. The 4x4 is like the best event. It comes at the end of every meet and it's incredible, but it just sucks to run. It's painful.
Yes.
And it's stressful.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually ran the 400 in high school and the 4x4 in high school. And at the last, 100, it feels like you're running on stumps, basically. The last little bit.
Yeah, it feels like you're fighting for your life. Your lungs are constricting. The lactic acid is in your quads, and your hamstrings, is in your butt. Like, it just feels terrible. I don't miss it. But the 100-meter hurdles that's a really fun race, and I liked it a lot.
No, I was scared of hurdles. I'm not going to mention on there why I was scared of hurdles, but I'm pretty sure any man that didn't do hurdles but tried to have somebody teach him to do hurdles, I'm pretty sure you understand why. But let's see. As far as baseball or basketball, which event do you like the most in terms of like to cover?
Oh my God, basketball. Oh my goodness. That's the easiest question you could have asked me. No disrespect to baseball. The basketball, that will always have my heart. I grew up watching basketball. I'm from Sacramento. We used to live right across the street from Arco Arena, and we would like trot over to the games. My brother plays basketball right now. He played in the Drew League this summer, and it was like a dream for us. Like, we were so geeked out. So definitely basketball. I could go on forever. We had the Monarchs in Sacramento growing up. A lot of those players were like in the community in Sacramento when I was a kid. So it was just really cool to see their influence and just like watch them be great. Definitely basketball.
Well, I guess you were reading my mind, because my next question was a Sacramento Monarchs question. I'm going to ask you, Yo-Yo or Tisha Pinachero?
Oh my God.
Which player would you like the most? Are you going to take one player? Which one are you going to take?
Oh, that's hard. I think I want to go. Oh gosh, I think I got to go Yolanda. I got to go. But like, that's no disrespect, because oh my goodness. But like, yeah, it's got to be Yolanda. She was incredible. And like, I remember seeing her around in Sacramento and being like, oh my God. So I definitely say Yolanda. But I think it's really cool how Tisha's been like very active in basketball since she's retired, and I love to see that. So like, respect to her for sure.
Gotcha. Now we definitely had a little bit of not Twitter beef, but a little disagreement on where the next WNBA team. I would love for it to be in Nashville, but respect to Sacramento if they do get the team. I will say that.
I think obviously there's not been a lot of like motion in terms of talks with Sacramento getting a team, but I actually did read a report in The Athletic saying Tennessee had like things in place to make like a strong bid, and I wasn't even aware of that before going on Brother from Another. Like, that would have been something that I probably would have advocated for had I known, but I just think if it's not going to be in Sacramento, it should be in the South. I don't know, like I just think that's like easy call. But Sacramento, I'm telling you, this is a basketball town. Like, we supported the Kings for 16 seasons of struggle. That's how much we love basketball here. Like, they weren't even playing good hoops for a long time, and we were all in, cowbelling and doing all that because we just love the sport.
Now, I'll tell you this. If the team comes here, I would say it would be on Broadway. It'd be right across the street from 5th and Broadway, which has the National Museum of African American Music in it. And then it'd be right there on Broadway where, the rooftops and, country music and all that stuff for people who like that type of music. Yeah. So it basically would be kind of like a kind of a mixture of both worlds, basically, in one spot where they would more than likely be playing. So
My counter to you is that we already have the Golden One Center, which is like one of the nicest arenas in the NBA already. Like already. And we have so much great stuff surrounding it. We're in the state's capital. California is arguably the best state in the country. We're in the capital of it. We're like 10 minutes away from the actual Capitol building, like the Golden One Center Capitol building. There are so many like historic areas. We have Old Sacramento, very historic. Like I think I have like a counter for your counter to argue that Sacramento is still the better destination.
All right. We'll have this discussion a little more. We'll talk about it a little more. But
good.
All right. Since you did say you said San Francisco, right? You went to school.
I went to San Francisco State for grad school. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with these two artists that were in the San Francisco, Oakland area.
Okay.
Okay. You got to go to. You got one concert to go to.
Okay.
Are you going to the Too Short concert or are you going to the E40 concert?
Oh man, Too Short or E40? I think I'm gonna go with E40. I think that one would be more fun. We're gonna I just think I can see that one, and he has songs with Too Short, so maybe he'll bring him out as a guest. I think E40 is the pick.
Okay, all right. Let's see, Packers or Vikings? You gotta cheer for one team for one game. Which one are you cheering for?
Oh my god! As someone who grew up, I have family in Chicago. My boyfriend's a big Bears fan. I've watched so many Bears games. It would hurt my soul physically, probably, to cheer for the Packers. I just don't think that I could do it. So I think I would go Vikings. And I think Josh Dobbs would make it easier for me to do that. If he's still the quarterback by the time I'm hypothetically cheering for the Vikings, I would definitely go for the Vikings. That's a team. I honestly could have got behind them even with Kirk Cousins, because he just seems like someone you kind of hope to see win at some point. It's not come together for him. I could have cheered for Kirk Cousins even. So I would say Vikings for sure.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I think I have one more question. I believe I do. No, I've kind of lost track of my questions. But anyway, all right. Let's see. We got off talking about WNBA and I just lost track of all my questions. But anyway, all right. I'm going to give you this one. Nipsey Hussle. We got two songs from him. Got Grinding All My Life or Hustle and Motivate.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I think I'm going to go Grinding All My Life, because that song used to play a lot. I told you I went to junior college before I transferred, and Grinding All My Life was always playing in the weight room. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. I just always heard it lifting, and I loved it. But I love Nipsey Hussle. I could go on forever. Rest his soul for real, because he was a great musician, great rapper, very just obviously motivational. His story, the marathon is continuing. I really shout out to him. But I would say, yeah.
Well, I got a bonus question for you too. I'm gonna throw this one in. Since we're talking Sacramento, we're gonna go Chris Webber, or would you go with De'Aaron Fox? Are you going with old school or new school?
Ooh. Oh my goodness. It's so funny. I was talking about Chris Webber right before I got on this call, because I was talking about his impact on the city. He used to have a restaurant in Sacramento. I remember it was a big deal. And obviously so fun to watch. I was a huge Chris Webber fan as a kid, but De'Aaron Fox and what he has been able to accomplish in Sacramento is something that I'll never forget. It's been so incredible to watch him bloom into the all-star that he is right now. I remember when he first came to Sacramento, and he got a little bit of attention across the league because he was such a fast player. And that was the thing that people were always wow, he's so quick, he's so fast. But no, he is incredible. Obviously, clutch player of the year. He seems like such a great leader. And he is someone who's invested in Sacramento a lot as well. I've heard of him being at a lot of events. And so, yeah, he'll go down in Sacramento history, as will C-Web. But De'Aaron Fox, it's got to be him.
Well, I bet he can't rap like C-Web though. but yeah, of course that was a bonus question I threw in there. 5 questions, 2 answers, 1 choice. It's all wrapped up. And the show is wrapped up as well. I want to thank you, Callie Lawson-Freeman, for coming on. Can you please tell everyone where they can find you on social media and what all things you're working on?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Callie J Law, CALLIEJLAW. And right now I am working on some cool stuff at Yahoo Sports. Every day I'm writing about the headlines that we are talking about. So definitely keep it locked at Yahoo Sports. I always got something new coming.
Yeah, definitely do that. She produces some great work. Everyone's listening. Please go follow her on social media. Go blow up all her articles. Share them everywhere. They're good. And I will say, of course, I am Mike Patton. Of course, if you didn't know, I'm the host of the show, Touring the AFC South. Of course, you can find me on Twitter. I'm sorry, the artist formerly known as Twitter, at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. I will never call it X. The only X I recognize is DMX. As far as on Threads and IG, as far as Threads and IG, you can catch me on there at that's THA, not THE, _general_NP. And of course, Touring the AFC South. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on, if you want to watch the show, of course. You can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. Thank you all again for tuning in to Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out. Peace.